there are signs of the increasing scarcity of metal. In a small town near here, a sad ceremony took place. The ancient church bell, which had rung the people from cradle to grave for 300 years, was requisitioned. The inhabitants performed a funeral service for it. The bell was covered with wreaths and flowers and handed over to the military authorities under tears and protestations.
Lead pipes were ripped up from the streets and melted down into bullets. The war was gnawing at the vitals of Germany and Austria-Hungary, and people's hearts were turning against it. They wanted change, peace and democracy.
After a while, joy at the victory announcements abated. People stopped believing them. They weren't sure anymore what the truth was. I saw that the war had become old, and like an old person was no longer wanted. Surely peace must come soon. Something dangerous was building up in people. Something that smelled like rebellion.
Dangerous ideas were coming in from Russia, anti-war, revolutionary, carried by German troops being moved from Eastern to Western Front for the Great Offensive. At railway stations and on leave, these ideas took root amid the pessimism of the home front. Dominic Rickert was one of the soldiers ordered from east to west.
We were off to the front, so once again we had the pleasant prospect of being allowed a sweet heroic death for their beloved fatherland. We went through East Prussia, West Prussia, Brandenburg. Train after train crammed full of soldiers and war supplies rolled over from Russia to the west. Farm workers were in the fields. We waved. Almost all of them made the sign of having your throat cut.
Since 1917, letters from home to Germany's soldiers carried an increasingly defeatist message.
Beloved Fritz, hard work never seems to lessen. We would all do it ever so willingly if only this cursed war would end. Tomorrow it will be 2 years since our beloved brother was killed, and what a number has fallen in those years. In this small area we can count 33, and yet there is no end.
The Central Power's censorship of letters revealed the extent to which dangerous pacifist ideas were infiltrating society.
An understandable yearning for one's home, family, job can be detrimental to the soldier's resolution. The heavier these burdens weigh down on the spirit of the army, the more the army needs to rely on a strong foundation of belief.
Ludendorff used propaganda to boost the nation's morale. By now, his authority had spread into all aspects of life, military and civilian. In July 1917, he launched a patriotic instruction program to restore the army's faith in nation and cause. One of the propagandists was Major Walter Nicolai.
A German victory is necessary and possible. It is the only means of reaching a peace which is appropriate to its sacrifices. We must eradicate all doubt in a German victory.
Film became a key propaganda tool. A massive new studio, UFA, secretly funded by the military, made films to encourage the war effort. Here, Neptune, king of the seas, learns that the feast his mermaids bring him has floated down from British ships sunk by U-boats. He goes to Berlin to urge the public to keep buying war bonds. Propaganda also taught the importance of security and secrecy. In this film, a soldier's careless talk on the telephone to his wife is intercepted by the British. Ludendorff enlisted German women to spy on their fellow citizens and root out defeatism. Politician Hans-Peter Hansen described in his diary the covert mission of the Women's Home Army.
These women are given special instruction in espionage. They're to pay attention to conversations everywhere. They're to post themselves in front of food shops to prevent complaints. If they hear people making improper utterances, they are to demand their identity immediately and turn them over to the state attorney.
In these repressive times, politics grew more extreme. In July 1917, the German parliament, the Reichstag, passed a resolution calling for a negotiated peace with the Allies. But Hindenburg and Ludendorff welcomed the formation of the Fatherland Party to reunite the nation. Financed by industry and the army, and backed by the right, it launched savage propaganda attacks against all anti-war factions. But the party only fueled Germany's slide into dissent and division.
All outward distinctions of class and rank have to be avoided. The many who have grown rich through war are detested. Finer distinctions are not always made, and anyone wearing a fur mantle or well-made boots is suspected of being a war profiteer.
Hindenburg and Ludendorff were running Germany as a military dictatorship. They had marginalized the Kaiser.
The Kaiser is more and more the shadow of a king, and people talk openly of his abdication as a possibility very much desired.
In January 1918, frustration, war weariness and hunger drove 400,000 people onto the streets of Germany.
Enough with the murder at the front! Down with the war! We don't want to starve any longer!
This war will only end when Kaiser Wilhelm has to queue up for potatoes.
We're all croaking with hunger!
There has been a heavy battle between strikers and police at Moabit. A policeman has been shot. The strike is spreading. In North Berlin, streetcars were stopped, overturned, and used as barricades.
Kurt Eisner, a radical socialist leader, addressed the crowd.
Comrades, the battle has begun. For 3.5 years you have swallowed shameful lies and become accomplices to the terrible slaughter. If you give in now, the oppression will start all over again, and you will be sent to die in the name of the economic and military interests of a few. If you stand firm now, we will be victorious.
The German army responded by arresting 150 strike leaders and putting them on trial.
We are now entirely at the mercy of the military courts of justice. Anyone who strikes is being sent off to the front at once. In the darkest days of serfdom, men could not have been more in a state of slavery than we are in these days of militarism.
Over 3,000 strikers were sent to the front. It was a foolhardy decision, only likely to spread radical and pacifist ideas into the army.
The company was ordered to attend the burial of the cavalry captain in the military graveyard, where thousands of poor victims of European militarism already lay buried. Of course, there was a speech. The main words featured were fatherland, hero's death, honor, etc. In reality, that's all lies and deceit. The only people who die purely for the fatherland are the basic soldiers. The higher ranks are paid, so die for the money.
By March 1918, Germany's ally Austria-Hungary faced bankruptcy and famine. Joseph Redlich, a member of the Austrian parliament, was in despair.
The financial worries are crushing. All in all, the national debt is 75 billion. And all around the country, hunger is crushing the masses. Has such hunger ever been experienced by 100 million people and more?
Emperor Franz Joseph had died in 1916. His successor, Kaiser Karl, liberalized Austria and had a French wife, Zita, who disliked Germany. In 1917, he opened secret peace negotiations with France. The Germans felt betrayed. Then Austria started to waver in the one area where Germany was relying on her to hold firm: the Italian front.